Apricots. This morning is wrapped in a sweatshirt, raw and restless. It filters through my jacket at the bus stop. Without you here, it's easier to get out of bed. I see you everywhere, in the reflection of the bus window, filling in the blanks of bus seats, of crossword puzzles. I recall my parents at dusk in southern France. They're standing on a porch watching swallows chase mosquitoes. I didn't know you then, but your hair was everywhere, mostly in the apricots, thick like grapes on the branches, warm, fleshy bodies in the sun, and fallen around my feet. I remember trying to fall asleep as a kid by focusing on the little lights and shapes that would appear after I closed my eyes. One that would recur nightly was like a mandarin slice, not big enough to be an orange or grapefruit, much shorter and fatter. If I moved my eyes side to side, the great mandarin would move too, lagging slightly behind my own movements. I would be in a state of getting sleepy, the point at which most people, I suppose, would count sheep, which is something I never really understood. I couldn't count the mandarin, there was only one. And then the background, looking like TV static, shooting out, cracked screens from one side to the other. There were also red and greenish, brackish blobs floating through the backdrop. I would hear murmuring and see a thin line of light from beneath the door if I closed my eyes. American writer Maggie Nelson writes, Isaac Newton at times took to sticking iron rods or sticks in his eyes to produce then analyze his perceptions of color. Children whose vision has been damaged have been known to smash their fingers in their eyes to recreate color sensations that have been lost to them. Phosphenes. The sensation of seeing light when there is no light. British film director and author Derek Jarman writes of going blind from AIDS. The white flashes you are experiencing in your eyes are common when the retina is damaged. The damaged retina has started to peel away, leaving innumerable black floaters, like a flock of starlings swirling around in the twilight. I think about Nelson's children smashing their eyes, desperate for color, and how Jarman's descriptions focus on the form the floaters take and their lack of color, white flashes, black starlings. Before the restrictions of language settle in fully, children are drawn to color as a way of differentiating between objects. Walter Benjamin writes, in a child's life, color is the pure expression of the child's pure receptivity, insofar as it is directed toward the world. For Benjamin, the way that children experience color is such that it supersedes the cultural and societal forms preoccupying so many adult minds, or what he calls the naturally occurring intellectual associations of the soul. Whereas adults see color as being overlaid on top of some object, children, he says, are able to see color as mere color, and it's true. Thinking back, as a child, I never named my nighttime floater a mandarin. That came later, as an adult, trying to attach words to memories. Flicker. My mother wrote out the word flicker in 12-year-old script, careful and deliberate, underneath the picture in the Guide to New England Birds. The spine is held together with old electrical tape, worn leather a warm red. Could she have known it would help her identify, 50 years later, the bird she found breathing fast with knowing growing panic? She would write me that evening, our little flicker had a broken back, so it died soon after we dropped it off. It was so beautiful, red, black, and white polka dots, and bright yellow wings underneath. It's better not to think about it. Swedish zoologist, biologist, and famed father of taxonomy, Carl Linnaeus extended his habits of classification to the human race by drawing the line between what he decided would be the four main races: white, black, red, and yellow. Taxonomy, a field preoccupied with naming and labeling the world, would be a natural outlet for this reductive exercise in classification. Color itself, however, is simultaneously reductive and expansive. It is only when tainted with cultural significance that the labels become problematic. Linnaeus based his categories on physical resemblance, the same way he categorized plants and animals, the accuracy of which is debatable. By establishing norms for naming, Linnaeus streamlined the way Europeans would come to regard the whole world, whether they were in familiar territory or not. If a system of naming exists, then suddenly it is possible that everything can be named, regardless of consent. Additionally, the development of a hierarchical system also enabled scientists the power to rank the entire world. While Linnaeus is not solely responsible for this mentality, the two contributions he is most credited for, that is the system of naming and its hierarchical ranking, can be seen as a springboard for a colonial mentality. But irony abounds considering the fact that Linnaeus's seemingly reductive categorization uses a set of adjectives, that is color, that precisely exceed categorization at all. With all its varying shades, color serves as a much more apt metaphor for the differences in humans rather than their similarities. The same can be said regarding the way color is used to talk about gender. While in mainstream American culture, gender is reduced to a twofold nature and thus represented by two colors, pink and blue, the fact that it is two colors with endless varieties of shades and hues would actually suggest a much more expansive and thus accurate understanding of gender in the end.